streaming live on africaglobalradio.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your comments as well on Facebook. Drop your comments, Africa Global Radio. Let us hear what you've got to say, and we'll definitely read it out. Or tweet at us using the hashtag The Africa Day Show. The handle is AF Global Radio. Well, the team is ready right about now, and we are about to go have some. It's actually a very sensitive discussion, but it is something that definitely we have to look into. Now, in April 1994, when Rwanda erupted into violence, neighbor turned on neighbor, family turned on family, and loved ones turned to their fellow loved ones, and the love actually turned into something else, what I would primarily call hate. The Rwandan genocide turned friends into enemies. The once beautiful country was as ruined as any spot on earth. 800,000 people were brutally slaughtered in 100 days, in a period of 100 days. How could the people of Rwanda ever overcome such hatred and horror? It will take a miracle, but I think some way, somehow along the line, that miracle came to pass. My colleagues are right here with me, and they will be helping me discuss this particular phenomenon that happened in 1994. Not an experience that anyone on earth would want to experience. Let me start with Hafiz Gunnar, who just joined us, so we can continue with our discussion with my other colleagues, Epi and Mami. Hafiz,
Barry,
how are you?
I'm doing well.
Great. Another day to reflect.
I don't know why she's laughing.
When you said you're doing well, is he not doing well? Do you know?
He said I'm doing well, and I remember. Yes,
Okay.
Oh, he has
I
a
get
funny
it.
way of saying that, right? I know. Anyway, that's just by the way. But we are remembering a tragic event. I mean, in Rwanda in 1994, the Rwandan genocide. I remember watching Hotel Rwanda,
Oh.
and that's like the rough picture of that's the rough,
That's the
rough
Hollywood
picture.
version.
Exactly, like that is something that okay, this is roughly how it looked like. But trust me, the reality on the ground was way fatal than that. But Hafiz, coming for us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Mm.
I think that's 27 years on.
Yeah,
Yes.
27 years ago. Mhm.
Yes, we are commemorating this day.
Mm.
Not one of those days you'd particularly be proud of. Not as a Rwandan or even an African to begin with.
Okay.
But it's one of those days where we get to talk about remember these the happenings in what happened and try to recollect and hopefully never again should we as a people turn on our neighbors like you put it,
Right.
turn on our friends and in some cases our family.
Families, right.
Anyway, but to start the conversation, I want to look at it in two parts.
Okay.
The part one, looking at the events of what happened in the end. The part two of it, try to look at how far they've come since that, and the 360 turn around.
Absolutely.
It's incredible to say the least.
Very,
Now,
very.
there are so many sides to the story, but
Mm.
then I am actually going to stick to the media bit.
Okay.
The media angle
Mhm,
of it.
mhm.
What the role the
What
media played.
instigated?
Exactly, the
Mhm.
role the media played. I'm sticking to the role the media played because I mean here in our base Ghana, the media currently is receiving a lot of flack. Not just the media, but content gatekeepers
Okay.
as well are receiving a lot of flack for allowing what you would say questionable characters to dominate our airwaves and spread, glamorize,
Okay.
get rich quick schemes. So and in the wake of the gruesome murder of the 10-year-old boy, but we've seen these things happen. Now, for 100 days,
Mm.
the world watched on and saw about 800,000 people killed. Yes, gets murdered. I mean, people turn on their neighbors, like you put it. But these things happen. Now, if you want to understand the genesis of it, especially in the media angle, you look at the composition. Try to understand the composition, the ethnic composition of Rwanda. That is. Now, Rwanda, you are talking about the Hutus and the Tutsis, the majority Hutus and the minority Tutsis. Now, this country was divided way before the genocide. This country was divided not based on ethnic lines, but because of class differences.
Yeah.
So the Hutus that were the majority were more like the subordinates, and the Tutsis were the elites.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this was thanks to thanks in quotes to the colonial. These were some of the legacies of the colonialists.
Okay.
Because I mean, sorry, the Germans were in there in 1884, and
Mm.
the Belgians were also in there in 1916, and they came up with a a system of hierarchy.
Right.
Yes, so with the Europeans on top,
Mm.
the second in command you have the Tutsis,
And then
and
third.
then you have the Hutus.
Okay.
And so the Tutsis became more like, as it were, uh, colonial proxies, if you like.
Mm.
And so you had all these tensions, and it looked like that's just simply the MO of colonialists. I mean, if you
Yeah.
take the case of Nigeria, the northern part of Nigeria and the British, when they came in there, they were charming with the Fulanis. Why?
Right.
Because they felt the Fulanis were light skinned,
Mm-hmm.
they have curly hair, they have
They looked a
long,
bit similar
exactly,
to
they
their
have long
appearance,
nose.
aye.
So, I mean, they were friends with the Fulanis for that reason.
Okay.
And so the Fulanis were more or less their darlings
Mm.
in that manner.
Mm.
So in the case of Rwanda, you had the Tutsis
Mm.
that, were seen as the elites and everything. Now, let's come back to the media, which I wanted to say.
Mm.
Now, in the media bit, that was when, in 1993, there was this radio station called the RTLM.
Mm.
It was launched. And when it was launched, it was financed or bankrolled by a man known as Felicien Kabuga. Yes. And when they started their programming, they would play music for so long.
Okay.
Very good music, actually. But then, every now and then, they would interrupt the transmission and spew all kinds of hate towards the Tutsis. So they would call them all kinds of names, cockroaches,
Yeah.
snakes, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
that's the popular
Yes.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So they would call them all these names.
Mm.
And so there was so much tension, but there wasn't enough, trigger. There needed to be a trigger, but then the tension was already there. They just needed something to spark it.
Right.
And that opportunity came for these genocide ideologues. And that opportunity was on the April 6th, 1994,
Mm.
when they orchestrated the murder of Juvenal Habyarimana.
Mm-hmm.
That was the president.
The president,
The
right.
assassination of the president then, who was a Hutu.
Was it the plane crash?
Yes,
That's the plane
yes, the
crash.
plane.
Yeah.
So when it happened, now interestingly, that radio station, RTLM,
Mm.
was the first radio station, one of the first radio stations to announce it.
Announce it. Right.
And when they announced it now, investigations years on later would reveal that now before the crash, the supposed crash, it happened that this radio station kept telling listeners that they should be on the lookout for something big that would happen.
Okay.
Yes. And so
So indirectly, you know what's going on.
exactly.
Mm.
So it just spirals. Now in the in all of this you would ask, where was the UN? Where is the big boy?
Yeah.
The United
The
States.
United States.
Where are
Yeah.
they? Yes. Now interest-
Peacekeepers and what have you.
Yes. So the UN, interestingly,
Mm-hmm.
had about 2,500 troops stationed there.
Okay.
And what happened when everything went south? They decided to pull out 2,000, leaving 500 troops there.
Yeah.
Yes. Now the
Mm.
United States, here's where it gets interesting. Bill Clinton came out and said, they are not aware of anything going on there, blah, 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 and they are sorry, they didn't understand the scale. Which is a load of doo-doo, if you ask me. That's what they were
Yeah.
saying.
But
And so-
hardly would one believe that, eh?
Because so
Mm.
the head of the activities of this RTLM, this radio station, so they considered two approaches: either A, to bomb the radio station,
Oh.
or B, jam the signals.
Okay.
So they didn't consider bombing, so they said let's jam
Jam
the
the
signals.
signals.
Jamming the signals was going to be expensive because per flight to have the airplane, over it
Over the
to
yeah.
jam the signals
Mm.
was going to cost them around 8,500 per flight. Well, it's not America's business, so that's too expensive for us. So
We can't
let's
afford.
mind our business.
Right.
yes. So I mean, you can go on and on about everything that happened, but until when we saw RPF, that is the Rwandan Patriotic Front,
Yeah.
the Tutsi group that overpowered the Hutu militia eventually, but there's something Ghanaian troops did in Rwanda around that time.
Yeah.
That fills me with pride.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
A
because-
brave move, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
With all these troops leaving Rwanda,
Mm-hmm.
with everything that was going on,
Yeah.
some Ghanaian troops said they
Decide
were
to stay. Yeah.
decided
Decide to stay.
and they
Right.
rescued
Right.
close to 32,000 people just by defying these orders. And it was led by Major General Kwame
Mm-hmm.
Anyidoro.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully later on I will
We'll
tell
talk
him.
about. Right, very interesting conversation right here. Like I said, you can join us through your thoughts, comments, and contributions on our WhatsApp platform +233 2070 or through Facebook Africa Global Radio or on Twitter AF Global Radio. When tweeting, use the hashtag the Africa Daily Show. Well, that was Hafiz Gunu. Let me move on now to Epiphania and hear what she's got to say about this unfortunate incident 27 years ago in Rwanda. But yeah, here we are today, and it's a whole new story. Epi.
Yeah, it's a whole new story looking at Rwanda after the genocide. I mean, if you look at the current Rwanda we have, you look at the technology, the innovation,
Oh, yeah.
you look at the good things coming out of the country, and if you don't know the history, you find it difficult to believe that, I mean, they went through such a time as this, and they literally lost this amount of people, but then they were able to pull themselves together.
Right.
I find them to be like a strong tower. You know, it's a country that didn't give in to the ashes of death, despite all that they went through. They rose back up again, and they are leading in various fields. Now, on that very day, during that terrible period of the genocide, we had certain Rwandans who decided that, fine, despite everything, even if it's just one person I can rescue, I'm going to put myself on the line and do that rescue. So I'm just going to mention and quickly go through those people because I feel it's also important to talk about them because they were there and they were facing. Now, the first person I want to talk about is Damas Mutezinatari Gisimba.
Okay.
And he's 53.
Right.
Yes, and he actually was the director of the Kisimba orphanage when the genocide actually began. And the orphanage was set up in the year 1980 by the Kisimba family. So they actually took care of people. It was located in Kigali, and he was bringing children in, taking care of families. Now, when he realized that the killings had intensified, he decided to accommodate 60 more orphans because children were losing their parents. They didn't have people to tend to. They didn't have families to go to because, like, the people I know are being butchered. So where do I go to? So now Damas opened up and brought more children so that he could keep them safe against what was happening in Rwanda. And the place became a shelter during the genocide for 400 people.
Right.
Saving them from the genocide.
Right.
Now, we also have Josephine Mureburayi, and she's 61. She's a survivor.
Okay.
Yeah, also unfortunately for her, she almost lost her life. I mean, she literally was knocked unconscious, and she woke up with machete wounds all over her body. She literally had to hide in the latrines for days until she was rescued by a soldier who took her to the Rwandan Patriotic Army. There's a field they had. He took her there. And after she recovered fully, she decided to step back out there into the field and try and rescue some other children. Because what she went through, her near-death experience literally scared her. It was like a traumatic. She was just wondering, what if these children have to face this? So she decided to still put herself back on the line, step out there, and bring some children back to a place of safety.
Okay. I believe you have more names to mention, but just hold on to that. Let me switch on to Mame. And let's talk Rwanda. Yeah, Mame.
Hi.
Out of your mentionings of places you want to visit, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people have thought about visiting Rwanda. You've not mentioned it. Did you miss it on the map?
Maybe I have.
You did?
I haven't actually paid attention to
Right.
Rwanda.
There's this guy, there's this social media influencer, Ward Meyer. This guy who goes to Rwanda, sits in the gutter and just start eating. I don't know if any of you have come across his video on YouTube.
Eats in a gutter.
It's not like it's like how he's trying to demonstrate how clean,
How clean.
it
Okay,
looks.
okay,
That guy,
okay,
I don't know if
okay,
you've seen that
okay.
video. Is it the Share as clean as a restaurant? I don't know. I don't know if
In
you've
our base Ghana.
Yeah, he's from our base Ghana. Ward Meyer, check him out on YouTube. But mommy,
Hi.
yeah,
So when I was searching for a poem for us to use today, I came across a couple of videos
right,
where the people who were talking in the video were talking about how France played a role in the genocide.
France,
Yeah.
right,
But I think I don't want to say those are conspiracy theories, but I found a couple of
articles on them,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's this part I want to read. So they said between June and August in 1994,
Okay.
France controlled a humanitarian safe zone in the southwest of Rwanda. The zone did actually help in saving the lives of Tutsis and other victims of the genocide. But even in the zone turquoise, people were killed. That zone was called the zone turquoise.
Okay.
For Rwanda's government, this implied that France was helping its former Hutu allies. Operation Turquoise protected genocidaries when the genocide was almost over. But he says that they didn't stop the killings.
Mm-hmm.
So, in some ways, what the article is trying to say is the people of France or the French government at that time
Yeah.
had some kind of linkage with the Hutus who were doing the killings
Okay.
because they started protecting those who perpetrators of the genocide when it was almost over.
Right.
I mean, I believe a lot of information can be found on
Mm.
this, and a lot of conversation has to go on this
Yeah.
because I mean we've seen stories. When this whole how is it the mining of cobalt in Congo?
In Congo, yeah.
How we heard about how
The-
foreign countries were behind
Mm-hmm.
people from different countries
Mm-hmm.
actually going into Congo, enslaving women and children, killing men because they needed them to mine cobalt
Yeah.
for their companies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
The Leopold, King Leopold, and what have you?
I mean we're
Those.
talking about recent times.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Epi was nodding. I think
I hold on.
Oh, the
the
mining.
Congo, the
Yes, yes,
mining.
yes.
I
I
don't
mean,
know
That
if
was
you've heard. Yes,
recently.
that was recently. I
Recently,
think
that
like
was
last
It
year.
was last year. It was serious.
Okay. Okay. Right.
Where they were talking about how the external forces that are
Mhm.
actually
Cobalt, yeah.
championing these things in African countries. So if
Right.
this is being talked about, then I
Mm.
don't think it is far fetched
Right.
because we've seen cases, we've heard stories of how colonial masters
Mhm.
pay or get certain people in certain countries to do their
To do
bidding
their
in the countries
yeah.
for them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually very true. Okay.
And then Hafiz started on, and he wanted to touch on how far Rwanda has come
Mm.
since 1994 till now. I
Till
mean,
date,
like
yeah.
27 years
Yes.
later.
Mhm.
I just want to want to
Mhm.
touch on
Sure.
a
Sure.
few bits.
Sure. Sure.
So they have made certain remarkable. The country, the nation,
Mm.
has made certain remarkable achievements.
Mm.
First, I'll be looking at women in politics. Currently, women hold about 64% of seats in Rwanda, which is more than any other country in the world.
In the world, yeah.
The female majority has ensured that laws aimed at raising the status of women are at the forefront of the political discourse in Rwanda. Now, looking at education as well, with 61% of the population being under the age of 24, the Rwandan government has made education a top priority. The government spends 70% of its budget on education and has made primary and secondary school compulsory for both boys and girls.
Wow. Wow.
And then coming to health, 90.6% of the population is enrolled in Rwanda's national health program. Due to greater access to health services, there has been a decline in death from diseases like malaria, which saw an 85.3% drop between 2005 and 2011.
Right.
Then, when it comes to the economy, Rwanda has made significant progress in restoring the economy to pre 1994 levels, with an average annual GDP growth rate of 7 to 8% since 2003.
Right.
Now, these are very remarkable achievements. I mean, for a
Absolutely.
nation that went
Mhm.
through a spree of killing,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
having to rise back from the ashes and to do this and to achieve these
Actually doing
remarkable
better
feats
than
is
some
even
countries.
that didn't go,
That's
go
a
through
remarkable
anything.
achievement. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
That's is great.
Right. Thank you very much, Mommy. I'll get back to you. Let me get to Hafiz. Hafiz, you were talking about this general or officer from our base, Ghana.
Yes.
Is it Colonel?
Yes.
Colonel
Major General
Major
Kwame
General
Anyido.
Kwame Anyidoho. Okay, pick it up from there.
Yes. Okay. So I think she mentioned one very interesting thing about France.
Yeah,
particularly- yes.
talk about France. I read a bit before you go. I read a bit about the killing of Sankara, and there was something around that. There's the involvement of France and here
those
and
guys,
there.
Those guys have a
You
hand
start
somewhere, somewhere, somehow.
wondering,
Yes.
you know.
You see, and the thing is, the interesting thing about this whole conspiracy is that I read a piece on one of the Rwandan sites about how France is now trying to cooperate. They say they are going to declassify some documents on some people they have that are hiding in their country, because even this Felicien Kabuga that I mentioned,
Uh-huh.
he was on the run for 26 years, and guess where he was hiding?
In France. So why
Three
not?
points. So
Why, three. Thank you. So why not
so
bring such a person to? Well,
yeah.
anyway.
So that's the multi-million-dollar question.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you still ask yourself, even the United States that I mentioned
Mm.
earlier, that decided, oh well,
We
eight
didn't know
thousand five
anything.
hundred dollars is too expensive. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Let's mind our own business.
Right.
They only got involved when just two of their citizens
Got
got
caught up in the
got
crossfire.
killed. Yes, and they were among tourists, 8 tourists that had visited a safari in Uganda and got killed.
Mm.
And that was when they decided, hey, now we are going to take action.
Out of hundreds of people,
Yes.
thousands of
So,
people have died.
so like they keep saying, United
Mm.
States has what?
Places a higher priority, eh? On its
They just
citizens.
have permanent interest, not permanent friends. So that's just it. But
Mm.
talking about Rwanda, I mean, Epi and Mami have mentioned quite very interesting things about how they've turned things around.
Around.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the proverbial a phoenix, they say,
Mm.
rising through the ashes and everything. Now, the interesting thing about the genocide is that you you never you are never the same as a country when you go through war.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't afford to do things the same way again.
Yeah.
And so, for Rwanda as a country, it's something they realized. And that's why sometimes when in now based Ghana, certain comments are passed on air and certain things are said, you're like, look, you guys be careful.
You don't know. You don't know what
You
it
don't want
is.
to go there.
Right.
You really don't want to go there.
Very true.
So, for Rwanda,
Mm-hmm.
after the genocide, they had to really put out certain measures.
Re-strategize. Yeah.
And someone like Kagame, a general an intelligent general actually, who was part of certain wars in DRC, in Uganda, and everything,
Mm.
decided, look, this is the way we're going to do it. And I mean, if you look at the votes he secured from 2003, 2010, 2017, when he was elected,
Mhm.
overwhelming 98.8.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
he
we
still
we
liked-
want. Yeah, we like you. Continue the good work.
Exactly. So what are they doing differently this time around?
Mm.
Now, here's one thing they've tried to do. They've introduced what they call, in their penal code, what they call the crime of divisionism.
Okay.
So any mention of ethnicity is now outlawed.
Wow.
There's no ethnic group in Rwanda.
It's Rwandans.
Yes.
Right.
So you are Rwandan before anything. You can't say you are Hutu, you are Tutsi, you are a Rwandan.
Thank
End of
you.
story.
Right.
You mention it is punishable by law. So even in their school books, recently we've seen the school book Bruha in Ghana where certain things about certain people.
I know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't have that in Rwanda anymore. Okay,
Wow.
in books, even on their identity cards, you
Mm.
can't. There's no
There's
place for
there's-
tribe.
Yeah,
Oh,
no tribe, no
no.
ethnicity, nothing. It doesn't
Yes.
exist anymore. Right.
So that's how difficult it is to even bring up the subject of ethnicity.
Ethnicity.
Yes, and so some have decided to don't even try to mention. Oh, so because of that, the government it looks like they are bringing their tribesmen into the. You get into a lot of trouble for doing that, and so even at the community level, what they've instituted are community courts to
Okay.
speed up the healing process.
Mm.
Yes, and they call them the go kakas, where you'd have individuals stand there and then point at some killers or some people that hurt them during the process. So if they mention your name, say Barry.
Wait, did you say Barry? Okay. Say for example.
I don't say that.
No, you didn't say. I just want you to say it on record. For instance.
For instance,
Thank
Barry.
you. Mm-hmm.
Then you either defend yourself or you apologize.
Okay.
Yes. So in certain instances, I mean, words have been exchanged back and forth. There's been shouting and everything.
Mm.
And then in other instances too, they've hugged and decided to forgive.
Yeah, let bygones be
yes,
bygones.
bury the hatchet and everything. I
Right.
think it's almost similar to what we had here as the National Reconciliation Commission.
Commission, yeah.
2002,
During His Excellency,
yes,
former
yes.
President Kufuor.
Well,
Yeah.
we just needed to heal and move on from that.
Yeah, yeah.
But then, yes. So, but some have actually had trouble with this whole idea of there's no ethnicity, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I saying that, okay, look, if you're saying there's no ethnicity, what you're actually doing is not helping us heal properly, because there are some conversations, difficult conversations we
That
still
we
need to have.
yeah.
And you can't have those conversations without mentioning whether or not it was a Tutsi or a Hutu. So why are you outlawing it? Something like that.
Yeah.
That's for those that have trouble with this law. But for those that, are actually in support of it, they're like, look, if you can learn differences of tribes and everything and hate someone, you can equally understand that it doesn't exist. You can actually equally
Yeah.
learn that it doesn't exist
Mm-hmm.
and be okay with it.
Yeah.
So it's still an ongoing thing. But then with all the positives, now Rwanda is the 15th or was the 15th fastest growing economy in the world. And that was
15.
between the periods of 2013 and 2017.
That's just recent.
Yes. And when Kagame assumed office, he wanted to do something. He wanted to adopt what he called the Singapore model.
Okay.
Yes, and Singapore, if you know the story of
Singapore,
Singapore, you definitely see the
This-
you know certain similarities
with Rwanda.
with the way Rwanda is going about
Mm.
things. Now, take for instance Singapore, Doha, and Dubai.
Okay.
What's the one thing that runs through? Their airlines.
Oh yeah. Very.
Singapore Airlines. If you take Doha, we are talking about Qatar Airlines.
Qatar,
Take Dubai, you are talking about
Emirates.
Emirates.
Mm-hmm.
And these airlines are very important in bringing people to these places
Mm-hmm.
and showcasing them to the world. And what have Rwanda done? They've decided to revamp the
The
government-owned
Rwandan
one, the Rwanda Air.
Airline, yeah, and it's very active.
Yes.
Very,
We watch
very.
the EPL, especially.
They're
Arsenal.
sponsoring Arsenal.
Exactly. On their
Visit
jerseys.
Rwanda.
That's why I think they got it wrong. Like Arsenal clubs, come on, Arsenal.
What do you mean?
Why would you?
What are you
pick
trying to
Arsenal?
say? Like,
There's Chelsea. Why Arsenal? Anyway, that's just right.
that guy is good.
There's Kotoko.
Behave yourself.
Arsenal, come on.
You never know.
Well, Ibrahim is not too
Maybe
much.
the negotiator. Maybe the negotiator is an Arsenal fan.
But you have Rwanda,
For all you know.
Rwanda Air on their sleeves and everything.
Yeah,
If you notice.
yeah.
Yes,
That's how
all-
far it
yes.
is. Yeah.
So it's all part of the drive to have people come into the country.
Not to cut you short, but let's even bring it out to the innovations they've made in terms of the health. Talk about the introduction of what you call a zip line,
Okay,
which
yeah, yeah,
which will very benefiting. As a matter of fact, we have the biggest infrastructure in terms of the what do you call it, the zip line technology to deliver health.
You see, there's one
stuff.
interesting thing about copying something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's okay to copy
It's fine. Just do it
as
your
long
way.
as it serves your own purpose.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes. I mean, the Rwandans are clearly learning from the Singaporeans,
Mhm,
trying to pick up some things. And I think we also decided to pick up one of two things from their from their
Yeah.
work. I remember this cleanup exercise thing we tried to implement every
Every first Saturday or last
is it
Saturday of the
first
month.
Saturday or last Saturday. Yes, they've stopped, but I'm just saying, like,
But it was a good exercise.
in
It was a
Kigali,
good exercise.
this whole, the cleaner city, something that we are talking about,
Yeah.
is as a result of that at the community level. Every last month, every last Saturday of the last month,
Everybody gets involved,
goes out there to clean.
and
I
you
think
get
we
results.
we tried doing something like that, and like we
All
got
of it.
tired after 2 or 3 tries.
I don't even
So-
know.
So
Right.
I mean, for a country that has gone through all that, I
Mhm.
mean, and the turnaround,
It's-
incredible doesn't cut
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
don't think I can find the adjective, but incredible doesn't cut it.
right. Thank you, Hafiz. Let me go to Epi Fania and then come back to Mami so we can wrap it up. Epi.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I think we've said a lot. One of the things I just want to mention since we're in COVID-19 times is some of the innovations that the country Rwanda came out with to actually combat or fight the COVID-19
Yeah.
in Rwanda. So first off, like you mentioned, they brought out the drones. Yeah, they brought out the drones, which was the whole zip line thing that was happening. But then that was not the very first one. They started with spraying boots, and this was actually developed by the Rwandan Biomedical Center. So they placed these boots at the entrance to public places. And then the individuals go through, it sprays you, actually takes your temperature, hand sanitization. It does automated collection of information on the individuals as well. Now, they also introduced the anti-COVID-19 smart robots. And this,
Right.
this I think I'd mentioned in Good News.
Mhm.
So we had Akazuba, Irireza, Mweza, Ngabo, and Urumuri.
Okay.
Those are the names of the robots.
What's funny?
No, they named the robots as well.
Of course, they are playing the roles of humans, right? So
yeah,
imagine
they're taking
You can easily
temperatures,
relate.
they're reading your vitals, they're
Uh-huh.
delivering video messages, just trying to ensure that
Uh-huh.
they keep the health professionals safe. And one thing they also do is that they actually detect people who are not wearing nose masks and instruct them to wear the mask properly.
you wouldn't want to go against a robot. From my experience watching the Terminator movie,
Now they also had the step and wash hand washing facility. So you
Yeah.
step on it, then you wash your hand. It's something they placed in the public space, different places, so that when you're moving, you feel like, oh, I don't have sanitizer. You can easily just go and step on it,
And just,
wash and
yeah.
sanitize your hand, and then just go about what you're doing. Now, I've
Right.
already mentioned the drones and motors to raise awareness. They didn't just use it to actually deliver the medicines, vaccine, or anything. But one thing they did was they used to raise awareness. I think we did this story where they send it to rural areas, and it literally is like something they had recorded onto it. So then
Okay.
it starts playing out in the local dialect,
Right.
talking to people about the COVID-19 and then telling them what to do to keep safe. And
Right.
now churchgoers had to use mobile apps to book space for church service.
Okay.
This was something, an innovation they brought about in Rwanda, so that there's
In
a
this
number of
pandemic
people.
season.
Yes, in the
Right.
pandemic. So that if it's 100 people that's fit for the room, 100 people have booked. If you book after 100, you'll be told you don't have space. You
Okay.
can't
Need
attend
to
service.
book for another session or what have
That's
you.
all.
Great. Thank you very much, Epi. Let me wrap it up with my mate so we can proceed to our
Yeah,
next bit.
to add to what Epi said,
right.
some of the protocols that have been put in place in Rwanda currently,
Yeah.
movements are prohibited between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m.
At the moment.
at the moment. It started
Okay.
on the 30th of March 2021. That
Right.
was last Tuesday.
Right.
And all businesses must close by 8 p.m. Restaurants and cafes shall resume with 30% occupancy limits and shall receive clients until 8 p.m. Public
Right.
transport is moving, but they can only take up to 50%.
Proper strategy. You know? I find it very difficult sometimes nowadays, not to hit on people, try to go hard on them like pubs and
But I think one of the protocols we should adopt right now is prohibiting movements between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m.
really. I think so.
Because how
You did
Is that a sarcastic question?
Oh, that's what I'm
you
saying here.
just
Is this
did
a
not.
question? Is this a question?
How will who survive? Are you directing
No,
that
he
to-
said, how will she survive?
Oh,
You
that's
just did not.
that's a question filled with sarcasm in there.
So I
isn't
can
it?
ask you any question again.
You're just something else. That's
I
the
was
thing.
saying-
You play a certain kind of personality. I don't know.
I'm
But
dumbfounded.
anyway, we don't really have much time, so we'll handle this behind.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just
Afterwards,
saying,
yeah.
like, if I don't know if any of you saw, but the
Uh-huh.
things that went on in Accra and in certain parts of the country during Easter
Well, I didn't
happened
see
during
any
the
of
night.
those. I didn't see any of those. Maybe you'd want to narrate that tomorrow on the show, or
I mean, you all have smartphones.
It wasn't
I don't know what happened. So let's just cut it and proceed. I believe that's all we have, yeah, mommy. Thank you.
That's a note. I could go on, but
I know,
let's
right?
just end it.
Let's drop it here.
And oh yeah, bars remain closed.
Bars remains closed. Yeah. Okay, that's very good. Yeah. I wish I could say the same thing in some parts of Africa. So when you say this place, it remains. Well,
Yes.
you see activities still going on. Yeah, no.
I understand.
Okay, the show is Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio, but and as much as it's fun in the studio, but we just landed on a very sensitive, topic discussion right here, and it's all about remembrance of the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. Very, an experience that you wouldn't even pray for your enemy